Mike has a podcast which is very, very good. Listen to Mike's podcast, you definitely should. Learn things you didn't know about your favorite TV show. Well, film really. Like there's a director's cut of The Little Shop of Horrors. I didn't actually know that. And it was the only version I'd ever seen on TV years ago. Anyway, listen to Mike's podcast or I'll kick in your door. Swing it wide open and knock you on the floor. Never seen what, you've never seen what, you've never seen what, you've never seen what, well now you have.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of You've Never Seen What, a podcast where I, Michael Moran, watch a film that I've never seen before based on the recommendations of my guests. This week's guest is Johnny Amizich, the host of the Culture Dumpster podcast and co-creator of the satire website GG Tribune. He's also a freelance writer who has written for the likes of Hard Drive, The Hard Times and more. And for some reason, despite being American, he is a Liverpool FC fan. Johnny, how are you?
I can explain that. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm okay. Very busy.
Would you like to know how I became to be a Liverpool supporter? Or I guess I should ask, what club do you support, if any?
So I support a team called Preston North End, which
I know Preston North End.
Yeah, they're in the Championship, so they're not in the Premier League, but yeah, I like most people in my city, so I live in Preston. Most people in my city in the north of England support Liverpool. So that's one of the reasons that I'm not the biggest fan, because I think you should support your local club, really. Unless there's like a familial connection or anything like that.
Well, mine is when I first got into the Premier League, it was in the 13-14 season, and a guy I worked with had been a massive Liverpool fan as long as I'd known him. And I just started watching them so I could talk to him about the sport, because I didn't have anyone else I could talk football with at my job. And I don't know, I fell in love with the club. And I feel like because I came in the Rodgers era still, it doesn't make me quite a bandwagoner. Because they had some bad seasons while I was supporting them. And then they went on that run with Jurgen Klopp. And I guess they did win the title the first year that Arne Slot came on board. But I played my whole life. I played soccer or football to you English listeners. But yeah, like, I don't know. It's always been my favorite sport, and I just got back into it like 12 years ago, and they became my team. I ended up taking part of my honeymoon in Liverpool and getting written up in the Liverpool.
The Echo.
Yeah, because we went to Anfield for a match against Newcastle, and I posted about it on the Liverpool subreddit, and a reporter for the Echo messaged me and asked if she could feature those pictures I posted in a story. And so, I got to be in a British newspaper during my honeymoon.
You know what's funny is that reminds me of my mum and dad. My dad used to play for and manage briefly a pub league team, like not a proper team. And after his wedding, I don't think it was the same day. I think they had recreated it for the piece. But he brought my mum to a football match. That was like their honeymoon because he needed to manage them, and the local paper had made her put her dress or made her put her wedding dress back on so they could take pictures, and they had the headline "Get her to the pitch on time."
It was my wife's suggestion.
Right. Okay.
Because we split it. We split our honeymoon between London, and then went to Liverpool for a couple days because we're both big fans of the Beatles, and obviously Beatles and when was I ever going to be in England again to have a chance to watch my favorite sport team? Because I don't really follow any American sports really. They're my team. Like I own an embarrassing amount of Liverpool merchandise. I'm in the the international membership, whatever it is that like I get a little kit every year with like a keychain or a pin or something stupid. So yeah, I'm totally a sucker. I genuinely love Liverpool. Like the day that they beat Barcelona at Anfield 4-0 after losing 3-0, was one of the greatest days of my life. Like
I think
I'm
that's
not
the
a-
kind of thing that you understand because you follow it, but I feel like a lot of Americans think that football, because it's not high scoring in the same way American sports tend to be,
Oh my
that
God!
it's like
Some of the most
boring,
thrilling
whatever.
matches
But
have ended in a
yes,
0-0.
exactly. Yes, you understand. But I appreciate that it wasn't at least through the dominant, kind of more dominant Klopp era. I was trying to remember if it was Rodgers or Dalglish back then, but yeah, under Brendan Rodgers, they were on
It
the
was
up then. They were
Rodgers.
definitely
Yep.
after like quite a poor period in the 2000s.
Yeah, that
and
that
early
was after.
2010s.
That was the season that they should have won the title, but Gerrard had that infamous slip that
Yes.
teams still sing about. Like 14
Yeah.
years later, come up with a new bit. And
I do enjoy it though. There is that
It's-
like Schadenfreude kind of thing of
Mhm.
yeah.
Steve Gerrard, he slipped on his fucking arse. Yeah.
Yeah, Liverpool is I don't know, this is for a film podcast. We're immediately jumping into the socio-economic division in the UK, but Liverpool as a port city and kind of as like one of those beacons in the north of that was kind of really damaged by Thatcherism in the 80s has always
fuck
to me
Margaret
had,
Thatcher.
Yeah, fuck Margaret Thatcher. Do you remember when Margaret Thatcher died? There was like a hashtag on Twitter that was called like "Now Thatcher's dead," and a load of people thought he said "Now that sure is dead." And people were all like, "Sure, dead." Anyway, yeah, the city kind of, I think, has a bit of a chip on its shoulder for good reason, but there is kind of a crabs fighting out of the bucket mentality with the north of England in terms of the division of wealth in the country, where people in Manchester and other places, they kind of give Liverpool some shit, even though we're all in it together. And that definitely applies to football, particularly
Oh my
because
God,
they
yes.
were incredibly dominant in the 70s and 80s. Like, and then as soon as the Premier League came around, they took them that long to win anything.
Then Sir Alex came in and knocked them off their fucking perch, as he said.
Yes, exactly.
See, I've read the histories. I've read the text. Don't question my support.
Now United have been knocked off their perch.
Oh my God, yes.
In really delicious fashion as well. So I do not like Alex Ferguson. He's undoubtedly an amazing manager, don't get me wrong, but he properly shafted my team because his useless son Darren was our manager briefly. And so he loaned quite a few players, as did his best mate, Tony Pulis, who was the manager of Stoke at the time. And when we sacked Darren, not only did he take his players back, but he got Pulis to take his players back too, because they're like horse racing buddies. And so it really left us in the shit because we had we had built our squad around loan players, which you shouldn't do, but you know, it is what it is. And yeah, I didn't forgive him for that. I know it's family or whatever, but it's also football. And like Roy Keane pointed out in an interview years later, that when he did that, it's like, it kind of shows you the kind of man he is and kind of single-mindedness he has. He was saying this in a negative way because like he didn't think about the fact that those players were out on loan getting first team play. He just thought about, wow, you've sacked my son, fuck you, I'm taking them back. You know what I mean? But anyway. Welcome to the football podcast, everyone.
Lots of politics in the beautiful game, it turns out.
Definitely. I will say as well, the fact that you've been to a Liverpool game means that you've been to more games than 99% of Liverpool fans. So I have to give you that at least.
Thank you.
Well,
I hope to
out
make
of
it back
interest,
someday.
who are they playing?
Newcastle. Whenever Rafa was managing them, so I got to see two legendary Liverpool managers.
Yes, yeah.
At the same time, and I got to see Sadio Mane and Salah score while I was there.
Awesome.
Yeah, 2-0.
I've not been to any Premier League games because my team has never been in the Premier League. They've won the top flight of English football, but 120 years ago.
Well,
they won the very first. So my team won the very first league. Well, they won the very first league, the very first season, and they won it without losing a game. So they're like the original.
They're the original Invincibles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We have one of our stands is called the Invincibles Pavilion. And also we also have Bill Shankly Cop at Preston as well, because Bill Shankly was I think he was a manager at Preston for a while back in the day as well. So whenever
I read about that too.
Yeah, whenever they play Liverpool in friendlies, generally like preseason friendlies, I think they call it like the Shankly Shield or something, like jokingly.
Hell
But
yeah.
anyway, we'll get there one day. But to be honest, the problem with football, I mean, it's going to sound like my dad
Money.
now, but yeah, the problem with the money in football is that, you know, say for example, if Tottenham do go down, and it's probably not likely now, like they'll go straight back up and they'll have that parachute payment, and then, you know, they're going to outplay everyone in the league, even though the Championship is probably the most competitive league in English football.
Oh, dude, it's insane.
Mhm.
I'll watch the finals sometimes,
like the
the
playoffs. Yeah.
playoffs. Sorry, the playoffs for promotion, and it's because so much is on the line.
It's the biggest prize in club football, I believe, like monetarily speaking, because
Yeah.
of the amount of money you get
Just
from being
from
promoted,
Mhm.
for TV rights and everything like that. Like, yeah, it is crazy. And we have been in the playoff final twice in my lifetime. Once against Bolton Wanderers and once against West Ham. I think it was against West Ham that we had beat them twice in the season. And then lost in the final against them. So it's just, we had like a curse. I think we had 10 playoff runs without promotion until we finally broke the curse and won 4-0 at Wembley to get back into the Championship. But yeah, Wembley Stadium 4-0, can't beat that at least.
No.
Anyway, so that's the sports segment of the podcast. Johnny isn't here as a sports expert, despite his surprising knowledge. I will give it to you. Johnny is here as a podcaster, as a writer about culture, about movies, video games, whatever you can think of in that regard. So Johnny, I guess, can you tell the listeners of my show a little bit about the Culture Dumpster podcast and what you're trying to do over there?
Culture Dumpster is a project I started last year, where I'd spent the previous 8 years boxed in doing a video game only podcast. And I'm interested in so many more things than video games. Video games are one of my favorite things. I have a whole website I created, the GG Tribune, that makes video game comedy and satire. But I have a broad variety of interests, and I also enjoy talking to people doing interviews, which is something I learned during my time at Hard Drive, was interviewing developers and authors, just people I thought were cool and wanted to get to chat with. So I created it as a way to examine different topics from the internet and pop culture and have, generally speaking, like a pretty loosely structured discussion about whatever the topic is, be it I did an episode with Kat Abu Ghazaleh about the Blues Brothers. I've had the hosts of the Kill the Computer podcast, June and Caleb, on to talk about the art of shit posting, which was my very first episode. And tonight I'm recording an episode about Family Guy. Sometimes I'll do an episode just about the news of the week if there's something I want to say about that. So it's kind of whatever my special interest is that week, is how I think about it. It's just me and at least one guest talking about a different subject, and it usually says what it is in the episode title. But yeah, I just focus on making an entertaining show. I do occasional researched episodes where I will write a script after I've read a book, or with the Dick Cheney episode, multiple books. And then I have a guest on and I tell them, it's more like what you get with like Behind the Bastards or The Dollop or something, where someone has done a bunch of preparation and they have a guest who doesn't know what they're talking about. Well, they do know, but they don't know everything we're going to be talking about because I've done a lot of research. It's a lot of fun. I've had some really awesome guests. If you want to check that out, it is just Culture Dumpster, 2 words. My Patreon for it is patreon.com/Culture Dumpster.
That was very succinctly put, Johnny. I feel like you've done that pitch before.
Was it? I thought it was getting away from me. Thank you.
There was the bit where you veered off and said, "Oh, what we cover in the show is in the title of the episode," and I thought maybe that was stretching it a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I haven't listened to every. I'm going to admit, I'm not listening to every Culture Dumpster. I've listened to quite a few.
That is fine.
I've
The
kind
last
of,
thing I take offense at is someone telling the white guy they haven't listened to his podcast.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? And it's 2026, and I've started my own podcast as
Yeah.
a bald, bearded, 30-something
Yeah,
white guy.
it's
Yes.
a thing I do for fun. I don't have any expectations of it making me money, although I do have. I'm talking to one of my patrons right now. I do have like almost 30 paid patrons, which I don't know how that happened, but I'm thankful for each and every one of their support. And I hope that I just want to put out an entertaining show. I'm not chasing an algorithm or anything like that. I want to talk about things that I want to talk about, and I hope that it's entertaining for other people to listen to.
No, definitely, Eddie. It is entertaining because it's almost like the couple that I've listened to have been more like, okay, I want to know about this subject. Explain. Like the one that I listened to most recently, which was a few weeks ago now, was you learning about VTubers, for example. And I kind, which is I think one of the premium episodes.
No, it's not. It's in the free
is
feed.
it not? It's in the free feed. Yeah, yeah. So like that, I kind of like that, like almost Louis Theroux style.
Old. Right? I'm turning 38 next month. I don't know a goddamn thing about VTubers. But as a person who has been online since he was a 8th grade child, basically, I love learning about online culture and cultures like that I'm just not privy to or a part of or have come after my time.
When did that happen, do you think? Yeah. When did that break happen where you stopped being aware of the trends and started having to be explaining them? Because I'm the same.
Yeah, I'm going to say probably longer ago than I really think.
Sure, to admit.
But like, I have a teenage son now, so I'm constantly reminded of the things I don't know about. But also, having him and having been as online as I have been for most of my life, it also, excuse me, oh my God, like I keep abreast of some of the more dangerous things, like your Aiden Rosses, your Andrew Tate, like people,
the manosphere.
Yes. And I'll just ask my son, like, hey, do you know who this is? Do you know who this is? And it's like a lot of times he says no, and I say, okay, good. But if he has heard of them, like just there's so much that your kids are exposed to now that you don't have any control over as much as you try. And I just want to make sure that he doesn't start slipping into any of these spaces. Not that I think he will, but just as his father, I feel, it's my job to make sure that he doesn't become some kind of shithead on the internet.
100%. No, I agree. I mean, I have a daughter. She's only 2. She's 3 in 2 weeks' time, so that's scary already.
Well, happy birthday.
So it's a while until I have to worry about that kind of thing, and it's a little bit stereotypical, but I think it's probably less of a concern with a girl than a young boy. In some ways, like it has its a girl has their own other things to worry about as well. Of course,
just being a girl on the internet.
Oh, of course, yes. It's just a different set of worries. But my partner's nephew is 11. He's 12 this year, and I kind of learn all this through him. Like he was doing the whole skibbity thing, and he does this kind of, I don't know what you call it, where he's like stroking his chin and trying to like pose, like trying to, I don't know, I think that's a bit of a looks maxing thing or something like that.
Oh God.
And but he does it jokingly. He's not, he knows it's a joke. And Roblox, Fortnite, all these games, all the memes, all the dances. One was quite troubling to me recently, and I worried it was just him, but I know someone else who as a child, he was doing the exact same thing. Maybe it's a British thing, but these 11, 12-year-olds are running around doing Indian accents right now.
Oh.
And it's like these viral AI-generated videos of like Indian singing versions of pop music, I mean, it is offensive. I don't think there's a racist element behind it necessarily. But it's still a bit troubling. Do you know what I mean? It's a difficult tightrope, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's when I don't know if you were watching The Simpsons, but when I was, you had Apu, who
Yeah.
was voiced by a white man, doing a very pronounced Indian accent. And I don't think that was meant as disrespect whenever they first created the character of Apu. Apu's one of my favorite characters from The Simpsons, but the fact that it was a white guy doing that voice was always a problem. And like having to, come to terms with the body of work that is there, and also like what's the discussion that needs to take place about doing those kinds of things. And
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of these these AI generated videos of pop songs with pronounced Indian accents. That's a fun trend.
It's an odd one. Yeah, Apu obviously not something for us as we've mentioned multiple times, 30-something white guys to litigate, but it is a really difficult one because Apu was and presumably still is like a competent, good character.
He's an important character.
He's more than a stereotype, as opposed to there are so many roles for people of South Asian descent in films, which even though they're being played by South Asian actors, are
casual Hollywood racism.
Well, what I will say, though, is beyond the Apu debate, which we're not equipped to deal with properly at all through our lived experiences or our race, one of my favorite films I watched it so much, I wore the tape out, I watched it that much, was Short Circuit 2.
I was going to ask if it was It's Short Circuit 2.
2.
Okay.
I had not seen Short Circuit 1 until last year. But I watched Short Circuit 2 constantly as a kid.
Was it just on TV a lot?
I think I had the videotape, and I don't know where it was from.
This is amazing. Oh, okay.
So
it's just
and I
one of
still
those things
think
that
it is
shows
a
up.
better film. Yeah, I think Short Circuit 2 is a better film than 1. But anyway,
I've only seen the first one also after I was an adult, because it was one of my wife's favorite movies when she was a kid, and it has a lot of really super racist things in it, and I gave her shit a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, I see why you like this movie. you hayseed.
Well, so for people who don't know what we're talking about, the issue with Short Circuit 1 and 2 is the character of Ben, played by Fisher Stevens, who is not an Indian person playing an Indian character.
Does he wear brown face?
Yes, completely. Accent, brown face, everything like that. To the point where I did not realize until much later in life that, this is Phoebe's psychologist boyfriend from the episode of Friends, and I didn't know it was him.
Wow, you just unlocked a memory, man. That's
so I don't know about in America, but Friends is on constantly in the UK.
Oh my god, yeah.
And I do love Friends. I know there's a lot of Friends haters, but I do love it. But the thing is, in the first film, he's still indefensible, but he's a side character. He's like the comic relief side character off to one side, not really that major of a feature. The second film, he is one of the two leads. It's him and it's Michael McKean. But the weird thing is, they've made him one of the leads. They've renamed his character. He's a different surname. He's still called Ben, but his surname is a different Indian surname. And because he's much more pronounced as a character, because he is one of the leads, he has a love interest and stuff like that. And it's kind of like, this would have been quite progressive if you had cast an Indian actor. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're putting an Indian character front and center in this film. That's good, but you've cast a white guy in brown face. It's like, what are we doing here? But I mean, it's sort of one of those things. Before we recorded, we were talking about Harry Potter. Like, I'll still hold a bit of that film in my heart as a child, even though it is problematic now. Now that we kind of. Well, one, I'm not a child and I realise it's not an Indian man. But yeah, it's baffling how things like that happen. Also, how have we got already into a very hardcore discussion about about racial casting in Hollywood?
I don't know, man. Maybe it's
give two white guys a microphone.
Yeah.
So now that we're on the subject of films and TV, what have you been watching recently, Johnny? Have you been watching anything good?
Yeah, my wife and I recently did a rewatch of The Sopranos, and I think I like that show more every time I watch it. This was my third time going through it. My wife's second time. who also got a lot more out of it this go round, because once you are familiar with the overarching plot and everything that happens, it gives you time to really look through it with a fine-tooth comb and just see how masterfully that show was produced and made, and how just incredible all the performances are, how solid the writing is. Everything about it is just so fucking good. And if you haven't watched The Sopranos, I implore you to. If you like Breaking Bad, you'll love The Sopranos. You haven't seen it?
No, there's a reason that this podcast is called You've Never Seen What?
Oh my God. Well, if you watch it, please let me know, because it's one of my favorites of all time. I also finished the 13 episode Gundam series, 0083 Stardust Memory, I think is what the words are at the end of it. It's 0083 is
right.
If you just look up Gundam 0083, you'll find it. And I'm about to get into Double Zeta. And aside from that, there's only one other thing that I've watched that isn't just like reruns of Always Sunny or something, and that's the film that you brought me here to discuss, but I don't think we're ready to get into that yet.
No, so you rewatched the film before?
I did.
Right, okay.
My dad has had his hamstring detached when he fell earlier this year, and he just had surgery a few weeks ago to get it reattached, and so he can't really do anything right now. So me and my son went over there and we watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with him, which my son had never seen it, and I wanted to rewatch it for the show.
Sweet. Just to get back onto The Sopranos, I kind of just let you roll off your list, but on The Sopranos, I've never seen it. I've seen no bits and pieces of it. I feel like I have consumed quite a lot of TV shows these days through the weird 1 minute long clips that you see on TikTok or Instagram with the AI voice slightly in the background and the overly loud music and the weird mirrored scenes that pop up. I feel like The Sopranos comes up a lot. Mr. In-Between, an Australian series, comes up a lot for me. And I'm like, I should probably just watch these programs instead of being mildly intrigued whenever I'm doom scrolling through.
You should.
I don't know a lot. I mean, I know the general idea behind it. The Sopranos, obviously. But I had a question. Is this? I don't know what the Sopranos theme tune even is, but I was thinking as you were saying it on HBO, because we've not had HBO in the UK until last month. We actually got HBO. We've got HBO Max, I should say, not a channel. We have the HBO Max now. But obviously all the programs, apart from The Pit, the new-ish hospital drama, had already made their way over to the UK in other forms. But they always have the HBO ident at the start, and I was going to ask, when you see that HBO logo and that sound effect, what theme tune pops into your head afterwards?
Yeah,
I think for me it's Sex and the City, and I don't know why, because I've never really watched that show, but I must have seen it on. So
I don't think I've ever seen a full episode of that show.
I've seen a full episode, and I've seen both movies. Because my partner made me watch them.
Oh, okay, all right.
Well, from what I gathered, that show is, probably hasn't aged that well in some regards, but it's fine. It's well liked. It was fairly well received, I think, at the time. And then they did a film 10 years, however long after it finished. That was like a long episode and kind of wrapped things up nicely and blah blah blah. Then they did another film, and that other film is maybe the worst film I've ever seen. Sex and the City 2 is incredibly racist. It's got a scene of Liza Minnelli singing Single Ladies by Beyonce in it for some reason.
Okay.
There's a scene where, in talking about representation of other cultures in media, there's a scene where Arabic women take off all of their niqabs and stuff like that, and they're all glamorous underneath. And I'm like, I think you're trying to do a feminist like pro women thing here, but it's just the most ill-advised
thing coming across.
Yeah, exactly. So but for some reason, when I hear that, it's that Yeah, maybe on another day it might be Curb. But Curb I've watched. There are shows I have watched. I'm not
Okay.
completely.
All right. Well, you're
I'm
not
not
completely on my
completely.
shit
I
list. Yeah.
haven't seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia though, which you've just mentioned as well.
Oh man. Okay. All right.
I wanted to watch that recently,
I'm
right?
writing
And
this down.
it's on Netflix in the UK, and but there's this annoying thing where obviously Netflix has ads now, and my version of Netflix does have ads because I get it with my satellite TV provider, and you have to pay extra to get rid of the ads. And I've just never bothered because I don't watch Netflix enough. But for whatever licensing bullshit that's going on, because I have the ad-supported version, you cannot watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. You need the non-ad supported version for no clear reason.
I hate
And I'm like, this is why people
licensing.
pirate stuff.
Yeah. No, let's put as many roadblocks in the way to keep people from consuming and possibly like spending more of their money after they find out they really like this thing. It's so fucking stupid. I just canceled my Netflix actually because the only thing we ever watched on there was I Think You Should Leave by Tim Robinson, basically.
I love that show.
Oh my God, dude. It's brilliant. But yeah, like that, I can watch that other places, even if it's only officially on Netflix.
Well, a lot of the best clips, a lot of the best sketches end up on YouTube anyway.
Oh my God,
I think
yeah.
this about like I've been watching SNL UK recently, which is new. We've just launched our own version of SNL, and as you'll know from your dip into English culture through football, we love to hate things over here. We don't like an underdog story. We just want people to fucking fail. And when it was announced that we were doing SNL UK, it's been utter like, oh, this is gonna be shit. It's American crap. Who are these actors that are in it? And I'm thinking, that's the whole point in SNL. You're not hiring well-known people. They become well-known because of SNL. And I've been a bit optimistic because I like some of the cast and some of the writers, and I've been absolutely loving it. But my perception of American SNL is 90% of the sketches are crap, and the 10% that are okay are the ones that get onto YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I can watch them anyway.
I haven't kept up with SNL in so freaking long. I used to be pretty diehard fan. And like I would watch Comedy Central would have like 2 hours of SNL reruns during the day. I would watch that. I'd watch Kids in the Hall. But it just has like not become a thing I've paid much attention to over the last several years. Mostly I don't have TV. I just have streaming services.
Yeah.
And the internet. So it's hard to keep up with broadcast television. And also most of it is like crime shows made for boomers, at least in the States.
Yeah, there's a lot of
or another like, 2.5 Men spinoff.
Fucking hell. How does he keep getting away with it?
I fucking hate that guy. The guy that made that show, Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, what's his name?
Young Sheldon. His name is fucking Hack. That's his name.
He has done something good though. I remember thinking,
I know I'm being overly harsh. I just really hate 2.5 Men and Big Bang Theory.
I never got it. I never really watched it. It's Chuck Lorre, by the way, or Laurie. I don't know how you pronounce it, but yeah, I just don't understand. You did Dharma and Greg. I remember that being not great, but not. No, he hasn't done anything good. He was involved in Roseanne. That was popular before.
And now look where Roseanne is.
Yeah,
exactly. Mike, look where Roseanne is.
American sitcoms, though, again, when I'm on about like British people often have a very anti-American, for as much as its culture does like completely infiltrate ours, they do it as like, stupid American programs or whatever sometimes.
I agree. They are stupid.
I kind of always sum it up with I spoke to someone on a previous episode of this. I think it was Jeff Bakalar actually. We were talking about reality TV. Like there is a reality TV show where there is an American version, a British version, and that's Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. And if you were to watch an episode of one and then the other, it's like two different shows. It's like the British one's
I've heard
quite
that.
slow paced. It's quite, it seems quite realistic. And then the American one, it's like, okay, for some reason, we're recapping what happened 10 seconds ago. There's loud background music constantly. It's quick cuts. These scenes have clearly been reshot because they weren't dramatic enough. And it's just a bit like, there is a formula, I think, sometimes particularly for network television that you kind of have to adhere to.
Yeah.
One of the things that really becomes apparent with is when I'm looking at the British version of SNL compared to the American version, straight away, you can swear in the British version. Like, that's not a thing on American network television. There's a line in the first episode where George Four-Acres, who's been a bit of a revelation, I think, as one of the cast members of the UK version of SNL, is dressed up as William Shakespeare, trying to get Anne Hathaway, his wife, to notice now he's returned from London his new earring. And he's like, I've got a cunty little earring. And it's like, that line, I couldn't even imagine that being on US television.
No.
So you've only recently watched those things that you've mentioned, but do you tend to consume a lot of film or anything, or is it you'd be going through a dry patch, so to speak?
I do try and watch movies regularly. My wife and I usually have like a show that we're going through. But yeah, it's been a bit. I haven't been watching much of anything like outside of hanging out with her. I started Seven Samurai, got an hour into it, and then she was like, I'm not following this in the night. I just haven't finished it because it's like a 3-hour and 40-minute movie. And I need to sit down and finish watching it. But that's on YouTube.
It's the whole, I suppose it's the whole film's on YouTube.
It is, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
In 1080, not 4K or anything, but it's there for free for anyone to watch. I
don't think I have it.
I've
never seen it. I've never seen Seven Samurai.
Okay, yeah, neither did I. Like all of
it's
these
one
movies
of those classic films, isn't it? It's like Citizen Kane. Like, how many people have actually watched it?
Yeah, but it's like so much. Kurosawa was such a direct influence on George Lucas and Spielberg. Like all of these directors that I grew up loving all cite Kurosawa as one of their main influences. And I don't like, there has to be a reason for that, right? And so I really want to start watching more old films, Kurosawa specifically. I watched Godzilla -1 not that long ago. Really loved it. I bought the 4K actually.
I saw that. I saw that when it came out in the cinema. I wanted to make sure I saw it in the cinema. I really enjoyed that film.
Yeah, when I still had a job, I had a membership at the Alamo Drafthouse, which let me get into a free movie, like not free, but it paid $20 a month, and you could go see as many movies as you want, basically. So last year after David Lynch died, they screened a bunch of Lynch films. So I got to see The Elephant Man in theaters, which made me weep like a baby. We got to see Wild at Heart in theaters, I think. And I think there was one more. But we've also been going through a lot of David Lynch since he died. So we've watched Twin Peaks like twice. We watched Wild at Heart again the other night, Blue Velvet, all sorts of stuff.
I've never seen a David Lynch film.
You got to fix that, man.
Well, I've got here.
Oh, we just rewatched Eraserhead not that long ago.
I've got here ready for a future episode with Brian Wishart, who has I think you've collaborated with him in podcast form.
He's a writer over at the GG Tribune too.
He has picked where's my camera? It's here. He has picked Mulholland Drive for me to watch, so I've got the 4K ready.
It's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, I think I have seen some of The Elephant Man. Like, it's been on TV and I've watched some of it. But yeah, it's just a blind spot for me, David Lynch. And I feel like it is something I'll probably watch some of his stuff and then become one of those obsessives.
It's easy to do because there's no other artist quite like him. And the way that he shoots and makes his film is so different than any other filmmaker. But he does it in a way, like there's a reason there's a whole adjective used to describe things that seem like they're inspired by Lynchian. There's a reason that, like, after you watch some of that stuff, if you ever like play Death Stranding, for example, or really any Kojima, like you'll get a sense of like, oh, okay, even in The Sopranos, there are sequences in there that you wouldn't think for like, a show about a family who's, their dad is in the mob, or the whole family is really in the mob when you think about it, that like it would have these Lynchian sequences, but he changed film forever through his work. And I like he's someone that you see a lot of other directors talk about. Like he's, you have the artist, and I feel like he's one of those guys that will just be inspiring directors, writers,
Yeah.
artists of all kinds for years and years to come.
Lynchian will remain in the vocabulary for a long time. Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit too. Like he made what he wanted to make. He didn't make it because he was chasing a specific audience, or like, I'm sure if people enjoyed his art, that was probably awesome for him. But he made art for the sake of making it, which I think shows like very strongly in his work.
There's that famous clip of him shouting at the producer, telling him that the scene's gone on too long, and he's like going mad because like, why does that like let me create it? Like I'm not creating according to your template of what you think is going to sell. Yeah, I mean, it is a massive blind spot for me that I do want to fill. But you start talking about Kurosawa, like 100%. If I recall, I mean, isn't Star Wars basically just the plot of Hidden Fortress? That's the thing.
Something,
and then I'm pretty sure. I mean, we're going to talk in.
I don't know if it's that one exactly, but yes, definitely.
We're going to talk in a moment about The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And Leone, one of his other Man with No Name trilogy films, is very close to Yojimbo, I think. Fistful of Dollars. Like there are. I mean, The Magnificent Seven is basically a remake, isn't it, of The Seven Samurai? But as well, I did that a couple of years ago as well, where I tried to fill in some of my classic film gaps. So going a little bit further back, even, I haven't watched Citizen Kane as I mentioned, but stuff like I watched Casablanca for the first time, and I watched some early Hitchcock stuff for the first time. Like I watched the original 39 Steps, the British one, not because he did it twice, didn't he, Hitchcock? And it's so old. Like it's the version I watched, I think it wasn't very well restored. And I'm like, but you see so many pioneering things filmmaking wise, and you're like, you wouldn't blink an eye at this kind of stuff these days, but back then there's the famous train scene over a bridge in Scotland, and it's like mind blowing for the time. So yeah, I do want to fill in those gaps. One of the reasons I create this podcast, really, because that I have so many big gaps, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and that I want to have a reason to revisit them and to discuss them with someone such as yourself. We'll get on to talk about the film in a sec. I just wanted to mention a couple of films I've watched recently, because I try to go to the theatres, to the cinema, once or twice, maybe 2 or 3 times a month, because I get free tickets through like my TV. Like Sky TV in the UK give you 2 free tickets and stuff like that. So recently I watched Akira in a re-release of Akira in 4K, kind of in the cinema. Which have you seen? I presume you've seen Akira. If you're delving into Gundam, you're not like
which one?
Akira.
Akira. Oh no, I haven't seen Akira.
Oh man, that's one that you should definitely.
I know, because it inspired everything.
Yes, it did. I mean, and watching it again, I don't think I'd seen it since I was 12, maybe. And it's mind blowing. And when I was 12, I was probably a bit like, oh, it's a cartoon and there's a woman's breasts are in it and stuff like that. I was probably like not really understand. And that film goes into crazy places from a psychological perspective, from a sheer visual overload perspective that I don't think my 11 or 12-year-old brain would have really parsed. So it was interesting watching it, 20 odd years later. It holds up. It looks stunning. The Akira slide is in so many films now as well. Yes. That's definitely one of the marks it left on the world. So that was worth revisiting in the cinema. But I did a double bill that day. I also watched Lee Cronin's The Mummy, which was crap. I would not recommend that. Are you a horror fan at all, Johnny?
I love horror.
Have you seen Evil Dead Rise?
No, that's one Evil Dead I have not seen.
Because I think that's the one he did, which I haven't seen. But this director, Lee Cronin, I was like, why is this guy getting his name above the film? I know to differentiate it from the traditional Universal Mummy films and the Brendan Fraser ones and stuff like that, I guess. But I'm like, normally, I've noticed that a lot of people are getting their name, directors are starting to get their name really prominent in films recently. We've got Osgood Perkins, who did that film where Nicolas Cage plays a weird killer. What was it called?
Oh,
the weird demonic.
Yeah,
he did that anyway, and then he did the one with the clapping monkey in it, and like why do I remember his name and not his film's name? That's a bit weird. And then you've got these YouTubers who are like, their names are being plastered very prominently above films, like Kane Parsons. He's doing the Backrooms film that's coming out from A24, and the director of Obsession, which is getting some good buzz, which is being directed by Curry Barker, who again is a bit of a YouTube kind of sketch comedy sort of guy, and I guess as well as that, Zach Krieger, I guess he's kind of come from that world a little bit as well. The director of Weapons, who's doing the new Resident Evil. Anyway, all that's to say is that this guy
he started in the sketch comedy group, The Whitest Kids You Know.
Yes, exactly.
He came from comedy.
Yeah.
And you can definitely tell in some sequences from Weapons that I won't spoil for the audience. You should just go watch that movie for yourself. Also, the movie that we were both failing to think of is Long Legs.
Yes, Long Legs. And he did The Monkey as well. Last year, which I think wasn't very good, but it was very prominently putting his name on the top of the film. Anyway, so this guy, Lee Cronin, Irish director, he did one of the Evil Dead movies that was very well received, and so there was a bit of buzz around him doing this mummy film. And the thing that annoyed me about it was it felt like any Blumhouse haunted house possession kind of thing, like an Insidious or whatever, but with a bit of Egyptian theming. Like it kind of felt a bit like a missed opportunity. One thing that I did appreciate about it, though, is that there was Egyptian actors, and they were speaking. Their dialogue was all in Arabic. Like they didn't kind of try and whitewash it anyway. So I did appreciate that. One of the main characters as well, who plays like a detective in Cairo, because the plot of the film involves a missing child for quite a lot of it, is May, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, but it's May Kalamawi, who is an Egyptian Palestinian actress, and she was the actress who was kind of perhaps edited out of Gladiator 2, given what's been happening with Israel-Palestine.
Oh.
She was apparently supposed to have a much more prominent role and then ended up being barely in it. So that side of it's good. You know, you've got Arabic language, you've got more authentic elements in that way, but then it kind of takes the action away from Egypt and transplants it into New Mexico, in a house. So it all takes place in a house in New Mexico, and it's called The Mummy. Like it just
doesn't
seemed
make
a
any
bit,
sense.
Yeah, it just was a bit. It felt like a bit of a missed opportunity. But lots of nice gore and practical effects and stuff like that. I'll give it that. So if you're a real horror aficionado, it's fairly decent. But on the horror train as well, I'm not traditionally that much of a horror fan. I've just seemed to be watching a lot recently, particularly at the cinema. I watched Hokum. Have you heard of that film?
No, maybe. The name sounds kind of familiar.
It's a horror film starring Adam Scott in the lead role.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which I didn't realize when I went to watch it. I knew nothing about it. My friend dragged me to see it, and it's about Irish folklore. So Adam Scott plays a famous author who is dealing with personal troubles and alcoholism and the rest of it. You know,
an alcoholic author. What
it is. There's so as I was watching this film, I'm like, okay, this is Alan Wake in Ireland. This is what it felt like at times. Like in a positive parentheses positive. Like it was. I really enjoyed it. It had it didn't feel like a lot of the time. So you won't know this, Johnny, but I'm grew up in Ireland, so
It doesn't show at all.
I I'm very sensitive to weird, like very stereotypical depictions of Ireland, and this is Irish, a lot predominantly Irish cast, Irish, filmed in Ireland, Irish director, so it kind of avoids a lot of those pitfalls, but still, like, kind of looks at the mythology of like Irish witches and stuff like that, and it was really effective, and it was a good mix of more supernatural-y kind of horror with more traditional horror as well. Like, it wasn't, you're kind of left thinking how much of it really happened or didn't happen, but there was still horror elements that were very much in the real world. So I would definitely recommend that. Irish horror elements might be taking a bit of a more prominent position recently, because Sinners features quite a bit of that as well, doesn't it? With the old Irish music and the talk of the old Irish spirits and stuff. So it's cool. Anyway, that's enough of me yapping around about horror films. Okay, so Johnny picked for me to watch the 1966 spaghetti western film The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, directed by Sergio Leone. I'll read the synopsis from IMDb. A bounty hunting scam joins two men in an uneasy alliance against a third in a race to find a fortune of gold buried in a remote cemetery. I have been
that
loving...
sums it up.
Yeah, it does sum it up, but some of these IMDb synopsis or like one-liners are dreadful. That one's pretty good. That does kind of sum it up. So, Johnny, why did you pick The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for me to watch?
Because I love westerns. I have since I was a kid. They are. It's also a very, I feel, American genre, right? And so I thought, hey, here's a piece of American culture that is incredibly famous that you've never seen. It's a genre of films that I love, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly I hadn't seen since I was a kid until I bought it last year on 4K Blu-ray and rewatched it last year, and I wanted an excuse to watch it again. And I know that there are two other films in this trilogy, A Fistful of Dollars and for a few dollars more, but this one is generally considered to be the best of the series, and also maybe the best Western ever made, by certain critics. And I will leave that to the critics to decide. But it's just, I don't know. I love how like it's almost silly in a way. Some of the things that happen are very, very silly, despite there being a lot of shooting and dying and guys getting their heads blown off. But yeah, there's a levity to it. There's a lightness to it. It's a silly caper. It's these two guys trying to find this money that's in a mysterious location, and you see them just not ever really trust each other. It's a partnership of convenience and necessity, but yeah, I wanted to make you watch a Western because I wasn't sure what your exposure to them had been prior, and like what the I guess average Irish raised Englishman thinks about it.
Yeah, I mean, like Western, like this is probably the Western, isn't it? In terms of from a like putting its fingerprints on the greater media culture, like the greater culture of the history of film. If you were to think of a Western, you think of Clint Eastwood as the man with no name, or as Blondie, as he's called repeatedly in this film, despite not particularly having blonde hair, as far as I can see, unless it means something else, and I'm just thick. It's kind of like the archetypical Western, archetypical cowboy, really. So I was obviously very aware of this film's impact and its place in film history, and of the iconic score, the Ennio Morricone score, particularly the opening theme that's repeated throughout the film. What I didn't expect from this film is the scale.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So I have seen some westerns. My experience with westerns is weird. Like it's never been a genre that particularly appealed to me. I guess what do you class as a western? Like I guess that frontier sort of film, like his Dances with Wolves. I quite enjoyed. I know it's not really a western in the traditional sense. I watched the Coen Brothers remake of True Grit, and I enjoyed that. But I haven't seen a lot of the classics. Sorry, go on, Johnny.
I was just gonna say it's generally they're set during the period when the western part of the United States was still largely unsettled, and you're having you have these settlers or these cowboys or whoever, and they're fighting with the Native Americans, and everything is it's rough. Like it's not an easy place to live, because the people are there trying to take the land from the natives, and I don't know, like it's the setting for so much of my favorite stuff. There's also a lot of childhood stuff tied into it. I used to watch Western marathons with my dad on AMC, which is American Movie Classics in America, and there's a lot of like nostalgia, other stuff tied into it. But this movie, Tombstone from 1993, even like Blazing Saddles is one of my favorite comedies. That is a Western. So I enjoy it when it's being skewered by Mel Brooks, or when it's John Wayne and McClintock. There's something that I enjoy just about the genre itself. And like Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy, and McCarthy himself is one of my favorite authors. Most of his books, I would say, not most, but a lot of them are like Western novels. And yeah, I don't know. It's a genre that always I love Stephen King's The Dark Tower. Roland is a gunslinger. He's walking through the desert. Like, you get what I'm like. There's a certain kind of, I don't know, character that appeals to me.
Yeah. And like that kind of, lone gunslinger wander the desert kind of thing. I get the appeal, and I get it as like it is such a part of literature and film culture that I visiting this film for the first time. It's hard to kind of put that to one side, because you have these notions of what the film is before you actually watch it, because it is so kind of iconic and so archetypical, like I said. I really, really enjoyed this film. And I kind of didn't expect to. And what I mean by that is I expected to appreciate it. But I will admit, when I put on the disc and saw it was 3 hours long, I was a bit like, oh, here we go. And then, even though I did actually watch it, because we spoke about this as we were trying to schedule, I did watch it over a couple of sessions just because life gets in the way.
It's long. It's a long movie.
It is a long movie, which isn't the ideal way to watch a film. The time flew by as I was watching it, because so much happens. It goes at such a clip.
It never really stops to give you a chance to take a break.
And what you said as well is it's kind of, it isn't self-serious. It has the levity. It almost feels a bit satirical in a weird way. A
little bit, yeah.
Yeah, like it's prodding at the romanticism that a lot of films at the time, I presume, or a lot of literature at the time had for the frontier and for that era of America.
And this is during the Civil War, and we see that happening. Like, that plays a big part of the story. And just the way that it portrays life is not glamorous by any stretch of the imagination. Things are hard and dirty, and you can die at any moment because of where you're at in the country.
Yeah. I think that my first thought watching this is, why did Clint Eastwood become the big star off the back of this and not Eli Wallach? Because Tuco was such a great character. So, I mean, I'm not going to go through the plot of the film, but, most of the film centers on Tuco and on Blondie. So Clint Eastwood plays Blondie, who's, he's never really named. We don't hear his real name at any point, but he's a bounty hunter. Tuco is a career criminal. Clint Eastwood is the good, Tuco is the ugly in the titles of the movie. And they have a scam going on which I loved. I loved that this is how we get introduced to. Well, I suppose before that we get introduced to the bad, which is Lee Van Cleef playing Angel Eyes, and we see him. It kind of sets the scene in what you're saying, like in terms of anyone can die, in terms of like there being a code or like a code of honor or anything like that. We see Angel Eyes kill his target, then go back to the person who hired him and killed the person who hired him.
Yeah, he's not a good guy. He's
and
evil.
And then he's just pursuing. He hears from his target at the beginning of the film, who just gets murdered in front of his family for all intents and purposes. We see, we hear this dangling, like we have this dangling thread of there's potentially some money out there that's hidden somewhere, and there's a person he needs to find to try and find the money from them. But then we kind of sidetrack into Eli Wallach and Clint Eastwood's characters, Blondie and Tuco, running this brilliant scam. I really liked how this scam works, where Tuco is the career criminal. As I said, he carries out all sorts of crimes in order to get his bounty, the bounty on his head, up. Clint Eastwood collects the bounty, and as Tuco's about to be hanged, he has the perfect rifle shot and shoots the rope in order to free Tuco. Which Tuco is very trusting of Clint Eastwood for the beginning of this film.
Hey, two desperate men. But also he shoots the hats off of like all of the men who were about to do the hanging.
Yes,
which is just hilarious. And it doesn't play it serious, but it's just to reinforce like that's how sharp of a shot this guy is.
Yeah.
With his rifle.
He also seems to go further away than he probably needs to in order to make the shot as well, showing off.
He likes a challenge.
But for some reason, Blondie gets sick of Tuco. This is the plot isn't the plot of this film isn't really the draw. Like it is a bit silly at times. It is a bit like you're not coming into this film for great character development or motivations. You're coming in here for the spectacle and for the filmmaking on show. So this team up, this kind of scam team up of Blondie and Tuco breaks up in a way because Blondie, considering he's called the Good, just leaves Tuco in the middle of the desert. I think does he leave him with water even? I can't remember. But he just leaves him to die in the middle of the desert.
He says 70 miles to the nearest town.
Yeah,
I reckon. Mm-hmm.
But like that was a bit unclear to me as to like they seem to be fine here. He just got sick of Tuco whining, I guess, and he was like, there's a bit of a Han Solo energy with Clint Eastwood in this film, where he's a good guy, but in the same way we had the hand shoots. I know the Star Wars obviously comes way after this, but we have the hand shoots first, and you kind of showing, well, he's a good guy, but he doesn't, he's got his own way of going about it.
He's still just trying to survive. And that means maybe you leave a unrepentant criminal out in the desert because he's no longer of use to you.
Yes, exactly. So Clint Eastwood's The Man with No Name. You mentioned before that this is a trilogy of sorts, but as far as I can work out, and having not seen the other two in the trilogy, they're not directly connected. It's more thematically.
It's just that Clint Eastwood is the man with no name.
And he's not the same man with no name necessarily. One of the things some of the scenes that really stuck with me in this film were, well, Tuco eventually gets his own back on Blondie and dumps him in the desert, but sticks with him to make sure he's out. And the state of Clint Eastwood in that scene, the chapped face and
he looks terrible.
Yeah, it was horrible to watch, really. But as that scene was progressing, I was like, Jesus Christ, like you start to really appreciate the scale. A lot of this film was filmed in Spain. Funnily enough, we call them spaghetti westerns because they're produced by Italian filmmakers often filmed in Italy as well. But while Sergio Leone is obviously Italian, most of this film and a lot of the actors in this film are Spanish. Which is quite a bit jarring at times because they're clearly overdubbed and their voices are out of sync. Yes. It's a bit weird to,
weird, but it also adds to its charm, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's very gritty. Like it's, it has this, I don't know, like this je ne sais quoi to it that, there's nothing else quite like these movies.
Yeah, but it's kind of a weird kind of juxtaposition of, from the sounds of it, Sergio Leone was very, like, he had incredible attention to detail, and it really wound Clint Eastwood up with the amount of like taking new shots and making sure everything was very precise in an almost like Kubrick-esque fashion. But then you've got dialogue which is completely mismatched and sounds like it was recorded 1,000 miles away, which it probably was, overlaid upon these actors. It's kind of a bit odd sometimes, especially when, like, I watch this in 4K and you've got this pristine, nicely grained but pristine image, and then the audio kind of almost seems so separate from the piece. It does add to the charm, though, like you say, and I think that. So have you watched the other films in this trilogy?
I have, yeah.
And this is your favorite?
I think this is my favorite of the bunch. Yeah, there are some really cool sequences and moments in those other movies that are iconic. And I can't remember which one it is. In one of them, Clint Eastwood puts a steel plate underneath his poncho before he gets into a shootout, and the steel plate, obviously, the bullets that he gets shot with don't hit him, and he's able to take out the people that are trying to kill him. And like the poncho itself is so iconic. You see it referenced in like Back to the Future, Part 3, when Marty McFly says his name is Clint Eastwood. Like,
yes.
It's such a part of the cultural zeitgeist, or it was, when we still lived under the monoculture here in America. And yeah, it's great, iconic, just absolutely great films. If you're going to watch any westerns, you should watch these.
100%. I think that some of the other scenes that really stuck with me is the train escape scene where Tuco escapes from being captured from the Confederates. He's been captured by the Confederates because he was wearing Union attire. I don't know if this was a real tactic.
he was dressed like a Confederate, and then he thinks that they're Union or the Confederates.
He thinks that the Union because they're all
covered in dust.
Yes, they're covered in dust. I was going to ask. I wonder if that was like a valid military tactic back then to kind of signify that they were the wrong people.
Oh man!
But he escapes.
Yeah.
He escapes from the Confederates in a really crazy scene involving a train and trying to. He pushes out this big brute, the massive soldier who's been beating him up, kills him, and then you kind of see the wiliness of Tuco and how, again, like he's kind of almost the main character for me, more so than Blondie, because I was always rooting for him, even though he was a bit of a scumbag and he kind of tried to kill who is ostensibly the good guy, the main character of the film, or seemed like he was going to kill him. He has this wily escape, things go his way look that I just love. That is almost like a Looney Tunes-esque kind of, like he is this character that just chaotically scrambles through the film and manages to come out on top. That's an example of that, where he eventually manages to free himself from the handcuffs or the chain that he's attached to the other guy with, the shackles, the train running over. And I was like, God, that's the kind of thing, that train, it's a real train. They've really done something here. Obviously it's stunt work and it's dummies and it's stuff like that, but still it kind of really... You're seeing it happen, and many people have waxed lyrical over the state of like over-reliance on CG and everything looking the same. But it just felt like I was watching something special and something real in scenes like that I really appreciated. It gets you. It's the reason that
they blew up that bridge. That's a thing.
Yeah,
that they did.
And they blew it up multiple times. Actually, is one of the things I was going to say, because they blew it up by accident first.
Oh, God.
And it's also, that bridge wasn't a structure designed to blow up. It was a bridge that they built because people had to really go over it for the previous scene where the Union and Confederates were fighting. It was a structurally sound bridge. So the amount of explosives that they had to use to blow that up were ludicrous. Like, it was such a massive thing for them to do. I can only imagine and it did go wrong. But, that kind of we've got one shot, or I guess two shots to do this. It kind of adds to it in a way.
Oh yeah.
In the same way as, I think that some of this slightly more old school filmmaking still lives on with people like Christopher Nolan. And I sometimes think about the scene in The Dark Knight where the hospital blows up, and it's like, okay, in terms of the scale of that scene, in any other film, in a Fast and Furious film, in an Avengers film, it wouldn't seem that impressive. But because they really blew up a building, it adds to it in a way that just makes it feel different. Mm-hmm. Not to disparage the use of special effect, like visual effects for this kind of stuff. Obviously, that's an art form in itself, but there's just something about going back and seeing these things happen for real on film, which I really, really appreciated. What are some of the bits that really stick with you? I know you've rewatched it again recently.
The part with Tuco and his brother, the priest.
Yeah.
Where you really get to the heart of Tuco as a character, and that he started this life as a bandit as a means of survival. Because he tells his brother, it was either join the monastery. I was at home with the family. I had to, saying I had to take care of the family, and I did what I had to do. Which gives you a lot more sympathy for Tuco as a character, because he is a double cross and, a scoundrel. But, there's some good in him still. And, you just get the sense that this guy, he made choices he had to make to survive. And that's led him to do some not great things in a time, in a place where a lot of people were not doing great things. So he's just another bandito, that his life could have gone another way, but it didn't. And he made his choice. His brother made his choice. And he still loves his brother, and that humanizes him a bit too. The ending, just that shootout, the Mexican standoff at the end, I think is one of the best scenes in a movie ever, where the place they're trying to all get to get this money is a grave. And Tuco knows the cemetery it's at, and the dying man who told them the cemetery told Clint Eastwood or Blondie the name on the grave. And so when they finally get there and Angel Eyes catches up with them and they're all standing up, Clint Eastwood says, I'm writing the name on this rock, and he sets it down in the middle of this little salt flat, and they spread out and the music swells, and it cuts from them spreading out to their hands by their guns to their eyes, and it's just cut until finally Clint Eastwood pulls out his gun and shoots Angel Eyes.
Yeah.
Shoots him dead. And then Tuco realizes Blondie didn't put any bullets in his gun.
Yes. But he doesn't. Does Tuco try to shoot Blondie, or is he also aiming at Angel Eyes?
I can't remember, but I think it's just he just wants to make sure that this guy isn't going to double cross him for the last time.
Yeah.
And then they get their loot, or Blondie does, and he sets Tuco up on the cross next to the grave, throws a noose around his neck, because the whole thing recurring throughout this is how close they've come to being hanged so many times. And Tuco's crying, and he's like, please, Blondie, please, no, God. He starts cursing him, and then he rides away, and bang, he shoots him off the rope, or he shoots the rope to sever it, and he falls down, and that's when it cuts to the end of the movie. And it's such a good ending. It's
perfect, because that standoff is another example of, and I don't know, it is such a trope that it has its own name. I'm assuming that was that invented in this movie, that kind of standoff, or is it just a very good example of it?
For me, a Mexican standoff is when you have three people, all opposing each other.
Yeah. But I guess the framing of that and the zoom in on the eyes and Clint Eastwood with his kind of,
I think that is from this movie specifically.
Yes, of course.
Which has been, troped and done to death, or homaged, I guess. But yeah, this is where it started.
I think one of my favorite
far
bits
as
of
I know.
characterization in the film, it does involve Tuco though, and it isn't as you've picked like the actual character development of his brother, which is funny because we're talking earlier about Ireland and stuff like that. Was the thing in Ireland, a lot of people became priests or they went to America, like the abandoned people went to America or they stayed and become priests. So it's a slightly different way. There's the scene where he uncovers a bath. Right.
Yep.
And he pours a bath with all the perfumes and all the stuff like that. And he's there potentially at his most vulnerable and gets cornered by the one-armed bandit that we'd seen earlier in the film. And it's just a perfect example of Tuco as a character. Like, whereas it always feels like Blondie is really one step ahead, it doesn't feel like Tuco is, but he always kind of has something on his side. There's prepared. He's prepared.
He's
there is
lived this
luck.
lifestyle long enough to know.
Yeah, he's not
the
going
shit
to
can
be
go down at any moment.
He's not going to make himself vulnerable in a bath. He's got his gun hidden under the bubbles. And that scene I just thought was a brilliant mixture of it's funny, it's exciting, it's silly.
Yeah.
I just look that I think that's the thing. One of the things I came away from this is like, yeah, Clint Eastwood is the cool cigarello smoking iconic protagonist of the film, but Tuco is the main character as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
even though he's a
heart.
bit of a scum.
Yeah. He's the comedic relief. Yeah, absolutely.
What I was going to say before I had some technical difficulties actually is I think Clint Eastwood was about our age when this came out. Them cigarellas were making dude look old, man.
Oh my
like
God,
he's lines on his face. I know it's a joke about people used to age a lot worse back in the 60s, 70s, even the 80s. But man, like, it is weird because he does look so young compared to, I mean, Clint Eastwood is still making films at the age of 95 years old. And he is such a remnant of that era of Hollywood or Italian filmmaking, I guess, in this case. But yeah, them cigarellas were not doing his skin any good, I don't think.
No, they weren't.
We do see him being a little bit more for as much as he has that kind of Han Solo shoot first side to him. When he comes across a dying soldier and kind of wants to make sure he's okay, gives him a puff of the cigarello. Like there are little moments of heart in him as well, which you couldn't imagine, say for example, Tuco doing. He'd probably just empty his pockets and run. Ultimately I think what this film has done for me is it's kind of opened my eyes to a genre that I've largely ignored, and I kind of want to watch more now. So I know we've got to wrap up very shortly. I was going to say, what other films would you recommend that I go to next? You mentioned Tombstone already.
You are watching? Okay, Tombstone.
No, you sorry, you mentioned it earlier. So
I did
already
mention
made it up.
Tombstone. I was going to mention True Grit, but you've already seen that one. No Country for Old Men, I would say, is a type of Western, even though it's set in modern times. And if you put me on the spot, I need to rack my brain for a second.
With
there's some old John Wayne ones that
like The Searchers or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. With No Country for Old Men, it's weird. I've not seen the film. I have read the book. And it's the only...
Then you've seen the film.
Yeah, it's very... from what I gather, it's very close to the book. But yeah, I haven't... You mentioned Blood Meridian before, but yeah, I'm not a massive Cormac McCarthy fan. He has a very distinctive style, which I kind of struggle with a little bit. And it's one of those things where I understand the praise more than I enjoy. Mm-hmm. It's kind of what I thought I was going to have with this film.
Prose.
Actually, yes,
you need to really lock in so you know what's happening.
I need to read more, man. It's every year. It's January 1st. I'm like, I'm going to read more this year. Never do. It's just a shame. Johnny, I know we got to wrap up. Do you have any more closing thoughts about this film?
It's been a pleasure getting to chat about it, and I'll find any excuse I can to rewatch it because it's that good.
Oh, there was one thing I was going to ask about it actually. There are multiple cuts of this film. Which version?
I watched whatever version got put out on the 4K Blu-ray last year.
So I think on my Blu-ray there are multiple cuts on the disc. Okay. I think there's anyway, we don't have time to delve into that now, but yeah, I'm kind of curious now to see what the differences are and why stuff were cut. because it is already in the theatrical cut almost 3 hours long. So yeah. Okay, Johnny. Been a pleasure to have you on and chat absolute nonsense on my behalf, not on you. You were speaking sense for the past hour and a half. Where can people find you online? I know we've got patreon.com/ is it just /culture dumpster?
It is, yeah.
And then elsewhere?
ggtribune.com is where you can find video game comedy from me and my friends who write for the site. And then you can follow me on Blue Sky if you like at drvinkman.com.
Thanks a lot, Johnny. Maybe I'll ask you to come back on in the future to discuss another Western. Okay, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much. Bye.